Good afternoon, Council, or good evening, I should say. Welcome to our regular Council meeting for Wednesday, May the 10th. And I'd also like to welcome so many people here tonight who are obviously not Toronto Maple Leaf fans. And staff, thank you for being here this evening. I want to let you know that this meeting is being audio, video recorded and live streamed on the Town of Innisfil's YouTube channel and shall form part of the record, which will be retained in accordance with the Clerk's Office's retention bylaw. And I will ask Councillor Richardson to deliver the land acknowledgement. Thank you.
The Town of Innisfil acknowledges that the Town of Innisfil is situated on a treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. The town also acknowledges that this land is the traditional territories of the First Peoples of Turtle Island. It is shared between the Anishinaabe peoples of Beausoleil First Nation, Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, and we thank them for their generations of stewardship. This meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people, and as settlers, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. The town acknowledges the forced sacrifices that are the foundation of Canadian society today. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect to all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit.
Thank you so much, Councillor. We'll now move on to item 2 of the agenda, which is open forum. We've had 3 people sign up for open forum tonight. And the first person is Diane Sykes, and she wants to speak about DSR 058-23. Thank you very much for signing up, Ms. Sykes. And just a reminder, there's a 2-minute
Your Worship,
time.
Council and staff, I have concerns about the entrance and exit at the 25th Side Road and Lebanon Drive. This change in entrances will move the minor inconveniences from Innisfil Beach Road, which is a primary road, to becoming a major problem on Lebanon Drive, which is residential. The decisions are based on a survey of which 338 people completed and a few open houses of about 200 people. It will be a nightmare for these residents. Will the intersection be posted so that people cannot turn from that Lebanon into the park, going straight through, or coming straight out of the park straight to Lebanon, and will be forced to turn instead? A question about that. Will there be permanent speed bumps and reduced speed limits? Were people on the 25th and Lebanon sent written notifications of the exit entrance plan to be changed? Less than 600 people responded to the survey in open houses out of a population of 42,000 people. To the best of my knowledge, our ward councillor, Alex Waters, has not communicated with the people impacted most by this, and they're completely unaware of what's going to start coming up our road. Less than 2% of the population were involved with this decision. We will have 65,000 people by 2025 and another 90,000 from orbit. How are you going to put all these people going in and out the park and all the extra people that are coming with it through the park and through a subdivision past houses with people and kids and stuff? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sykes. Next on our list is Donna Orsatti, and she is same item, DSR 058-23. Welcome back to the chambers, former Councillor Orsatti.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, Deputy Mayor, and members of Council. I'm addressing the Innisfil Beach Park Implementation Plan. I want to begin by saying that I'm pleased to see that staff are addressing necessary infrastructure needs in Phase 1 before moving on to future phases. The grouping of the items in each phase makes sense, from both a budgetary approach and an opportunity for staff and council to review the implementation for any necessary modifications or changes based on user experience before the next phase. On my 8 years on council, there were times of reflection after a vote that I felt we could have handled that item differently to best meet the needs of our residents who, through work or personal commitments, did not have the time to read an item that impacts them in the agenda until after the evening's vote. I know that Council is asked to vote on this item this evening. However, I would like to ask Council to consider, after discussion, deferring this item that impacts residents for the next 20 years to the next Council meeting, 2 weeks away, for a 20-year consideration. This would allow residents to review the new hybrid model proposed in the report that they may not have seen. This impacts all residents in Innisfil, and I feel that this would be a proactive approach of gaining resident support and understanding versus receiving reactive comments as the recommended phases begin. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Orsatti. I almost called you Councilor Orsatti. And it must be alumni night because our next speaker is Rob Nickel, former councillor, and he's here to talk about also item C1, the Innisfil Beach Park.
Tough to follow with Councillor Orsatti there, or former Councillor Orsatti. Good evening, Your Worship, Deputy, members of Council, and town staff. It is great to be back in Chambers and speaking with you tonight. First as a resident, as a former councillor, and later as the Vice Chair of the Innisfil Public Library Board. I would like to speak briefly to you on item C1, the Innisfil Beach Park Plan. I just wanted to commend staff on pivoting to this hybrid model for Innisfil Beach Park, which does look very similar to a mock-up that I shared with staff at the last open house, and I see is captured in comments 69. Our recreational community evolves and grows. As this recreational community evolves and grows, this hybrid design provides two extremely important aspects: functionality and practicality. For example, you don't have to drive through the entire park just to get to the boat launch. There is a flow and a purpose to this, and it provides the many amenities our residents are asking for without ruining the green spaces and naturalized areas of our park. Just a reminder to some of the newer councillors around the table, many years ago, members of council had a vision and, quite frankly, the intestinal fortitude to begin purchasing this waterfront area for the enjoyment of future residents. You now have the chance to make it even better. I hope you will all continue to share the vision to provide our residents an even better park with this hybrid design. Lastly, I think of it this way. If you're able to pass this recommendation tonight, my son Wyatt and his friends might still be young enough to use the portable BMX pump track if it's moved to Guildford to make room for the new permanent one at IBR or IBPC. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nickel. Former Councillor Nickel. Old habits die hard. All right. Thank you for everyone who participated in open forum. Now we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. We've had no agenda repair required or additional items put on this evening, so could I please ask for a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as was printed? Councillor Drodge and Councillor Richardson. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Next, I'll ask if there's any disclosures of pecuniary or conflict of interest or perceived conflict of interest on any item in tonight's agenda. Seeing none at this time, if one becomes apparent to you through the meeting, please let it be known at that time, and we will make the appropriate resolutions. Number 5 is presentations and petitions, and we're very pleased tonight to have the Innisfil Library Board here to give their annual Library Board update, and I welcome Chair Smith to the podium.
Thank you. I think this is the first time we've done this in person in a few years, the actual annual report. That's great. Good evening, Mayor Dolan, Deputy Mayor Fowler, and members of Council. I'm the Library Board Chair, Anne Smith, and I am joined in presenting this evening by the Library Vice Chair, Rob Nickel, and members Cynthia Gordon, Dr. Raj Grover, and Sue Bennett. Board member Bob Bagley is also here with us tonight as well. It is our pleasure to present to you an update on the Innisfil Idea Lab and Library's achievements in the past year. It has been a year of growth and success for our library, and we are proud of the many accomplishments that we have achieved together. One exciting development that we are pleased to share is the completion of a return on investment study that measures the economic value that the library brings to our community. This study showcases the library's value as a community asset and underscores our commitment to providing exceptional, cost-effective services and resources to our residents. Next slide, please. The value of library service. The study was completed using a cost-benefit analysis, an approach that is used to determine value for money and return on investment in many public sectors. Total economic impact is the sum of direct spending, that is the library budget for facilities, staffing, and resources, a calculation of a direct benefit that equates a service with a market value, and indirect benefits calculated using an economic multiplier. For example, a single dollar paid to a staff member is then redistributed in the local economy. Together, these three elements provide an estimate of the total impact on the economy. For 2022, the direct spending of the library was $3.8 million. And the direct benefits, a market value of collections, programs, reference, research and technology access, for example, was $9.2 million. And finally, the indirect benefits, value created from library spending, was over $7 million for a total economic impact in excess of $20 million. Next slide, please.
First of all, I believe that you all already know the importance of the library as a hub in our community and the value for dollars that we provide. In fact, I know that it was said right in this very room not too long ago when dealing with budgets, the library has always stepped up and superseded budgetary asks. And if the library is asking for funding, there is truly a need in our community. I think you'll be impressed as I am. I was to discover that the economic impact of our library amounts to an impressive 544% return on investment. This means that every dollar spent on library services in Innisfil yields a return of $5.44. Our library system generates more than 5 times its operating costs in direct and indirect benefits to our community. As a counselor for 8 years, I had become used to hearing about the innovative new projects and events coming from the library. Standing here today, from the other side of the desk, I get to see firsthand how our library works collaboratively with our partners, like those here in the room, with town staff, council, and community organizations to meet the needs of our residents. It is also worth noting here that while the return on investment study gives us valuable insight into the economic impact of our library, there are intangible benefits that cannot be fully captured in these calculations. For example, we learned about a local entrepreneur that had been able to expand her business thanks to the skills learned and honed using the library's hack lab. Access to the technology in the library, like the laser cutter, allowed her to leverage the expertise of library staff to experiment and learn while growing her business. Next slide, please. In addition to the popular staff-led technology workshops that drew 300 participants last year, our community members are also taking advantage of the library's maker spaces to work on their own personal projects. Machines such as the laser cutter in the hack lab and the recording studio in the media lab are frequently booked on average of 3 times a day, resulting in a staggering 700 hours of technology use. This highlights the immense value of the library's resource in helping people develop and refine their digital literacy skills, which are essential in today's digital landscape. It is fascinating to consider how many new business ideas may have been sparked by these accessing these new tools and gaining new digital skills. Next slide, please.
As a new board member, a parent, and an employment services consultant, I'm a strong believer in the importance of lifelong learning in all forms. While completing my master's degree, I focused on rural adult education and the unique history of informal and formal community-based learning in rural settings. As a professor with the Georgian College Academic Upgrading Program, I've seen firsthand the positive impact that access to a library has on a student's ability to learn, especially students who might have faced setbacks either in their education or personal life that got them off their planned journey. Our library offers a welcome and non-judgmental space where people from all walks of life can access resources, receive support, and learn new skills to advance their careers and pursue education. One of the many stories that we have heard from our community, and one that resonated with me as a mother, was a woman who brought her child with her to participate in one of the many library programs. While her child's love of lifelong learning was fostered, she was able to book a quiet study room to have an interview over Zoom to help her start on her career path. Next slide, please. Even our community, access to reliable internet can be a challenge, and we know that the internet is no longer a luxury, but a necessity for education and employment. Community members access public Wi-Fi through the library nearly 70,000 times. Compared to the price of a cup of coffee to access free Wi-Fi at a local coffee shop, this service alone delivers an economic value of $182,000. This is just one more example of how our library is contributing to the economic viability of our community by providing vital resources that support lifelong learning, job seeking, and other activities to enrich our residents' lives. Next slide, please.
As a longtime resident of Innisfil and an active member of numerous boards and committees, I have witnessed firsthand the growth, evolution, and innovation of our community. Innisfil has outgrown its small-town roots and is poised for further transformation. What sets Innisfil apart is our unique identity and collaborative spirit. Together with community organizations, social service agencies, and the town, the library fulfills vital needs in our community, whether it's through fostering social connections, supporting newcomers, or addressing mental health concerns. Our library serves as a community hub accessible to all residents of Innisfil, where individuals can seek support without fear of judgment or discrimination. Next slide, please. Last year, our expert staff fielded over 4,000 complex reference questions, while library customers accessed more than 8,000 reliable resources through our extensive databases and e-learning platforms. As a trusted institution, our library provides access to credible information on virtually any topic imaginable. Moreover, our staff is adept at connecting patrons with tailored resources, information, and services. For those grappling with issues such as homelessness, mental health, or acclimating to a new community, the library serves as a vital resource and support system. Next slide, please.
I'm a parent of 2 children who love to read and regularly attend library programs. Last year, more than 9,500 kids in Innisfil, including my own, participated in the library's diverse offerings. These programs are specifically designed to cater to learners of all ages and to promote critical thinking, communication, and literacy skills that are crucial for building a strong and engaged community. While our study estimated the value of comparable programs at over $182,000, as a physician at RVH, I'm aware that the impact of these programs goes beyond financial metrics. For example, social determinants of health, such as access to educational opportunities, play a crucial role in an individual's overall health outcomes. Low literacy skills have been linked to poor health outcomes, including decreased ability to manage one's own health and access healthcare services. By providing early literacy intervention, our library is not only fostering a love for reading among children, but also setting them up for success in various areas of their lives, including health and well-being. Our library's role as a partner in childhood learning is instrumental in building a healthy community. Next slide, please. Innisfil is known for being on the leading edge of technology and innovation. and I am proud to say that this is also true for our library system. As a leader in maker technology, the library introduced our team at RVH to a number of new possibilities, and they are now exploring the innovative use of 3D printing in medicine and have moved forward with not only purchasing their own 3D printers, but also looking for ways to partner with post-secondary research institutes.
Next slide, please. The Innisfil Idea Lab and Library is always proud of the positive impact it has on our community and is grateful for the support of Council and our partners here at Town Hall. The completion of a return on investment study demonstrates the library's value as a community asset, but more importantly, illustrates our commitment by providing cost-effective services and resources to Innisfil residents. Beyond the dollars and cents, the intangible benefits such as digital literacy skills, access to reliable internet, community building, and the creation of social networks are benefits that are vital to the community, fostering lifelong learning, education, and employment opportunities. The library's success is a result of the collaborative efforts of the library staff, partners, community members, who have all worked together to meet the needs of Innisfil's residents. We are looking forward to another year ahead filled with unique community experiences and opportunities for growth and exploration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair Smith, and all of the board members for being here this evening. I'll go to members of council for questions or comments. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm lucky enough to sit on the library board, and even before being on the board and when we moved here, we knew how much value that the library has. So I think it's great to see these numbers in front of us. 9,500 kids, there's always wait lists for the programs, and we're not even touching on the adult programs or the seniors programs. So 100%, I can see this number even growing even more as we continue to grow in our community. So it's great. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Councillor Saunders.
Thank you for the, thank you for that presentation. It was amazing. One thing I think everybody needs to realize is that this is the first time that we've undergone this study. And going forward, we're going to build on it, and it's going to add numerous social services and community organizations and collecting the data all that way, and learning how to use more spaces and the dollar for dollar value that way. So I think this, the report that you did on the return on investment is an amazing report, and I think we'll just keep building on it every year after year. So I think it was a great job. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? I have just a couple. So I love that part about, getting a free Wi-Fi with your coffee, and I think maybe we should, have a new advertising campaign, cooler than Starbucks. I also wanted to say that, you make us proud everywhere we go. I came from the Ontario Small Urban Conference a couple of weeks ago, and there was a brand new councillor there who'd already heard much about the Gold Star of Libraries, which was the Innisfil Idea Lab and Library. So for that, I congratulate you. And I also want to say that in a time where there's currently a lot of controversy, demonstrations, events happening, Peterborough was recent, another meeting in Springwater. I want you to know that this council we've got your back. We support your decisions, and we support the good decisions you make for our community. And with that, there's no more questions or comments. I would ask Councillor Richardson and Councillor Saunders to move and second the recommendation that the update be received. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Much appreciated. Next, item 6, under delegations. we have 6.1 Amanda Fellows regarding the Private Members Bill, Bill 5. Whenever you're ready.
Thanks so much. Good evening, Mayor Dolan, Deputy Mayor Fowler, and members of council. My name is Amanda Fellows, and I'm here representing the Women of Ontario Say No, a collaborative of men, women, people, organizations, and groups that care deeply about basic human rights in the workplace. In this case, protection of the right not to be harassed by an elected member of council. In March of 2021, Orleans Member of Provincial Parliament, Stephen Blais, put forward a bill, the Stopping of Harassment and Abuse by Local Leaders Act. The bill was brought forward to introduce legislation that would deter municipal councillors and board members from engaging in harassment by holding them to account for their actions, including creating a process to remove them from office. The bill requires that codes of conduct for municipal councillors and members of local boards include requirements for those councillors and members to comply with workplace violence and harassment policies, and create an integrity commissioner and judicial process to remove them from office for egregious acts of sexual, emotional, and psychological misconduct. The bill was reintroduced in October of 2021, and in his address, as Bill 10, and in his address to House, Mr. Blais conveyed the urgency to prioritize and pass this legislation before the fall election. The legislation died on the floor when the provincial election was called and has since been reintroduced as Bill 5 in August of 2020. It is nonpartisan and had all party support. There are so many good people that serve the people as elected representatives. However, like every sector, there are people who are guilty of perpetuating harassment in the workplace. One does not have to look far to find examples such as Ottawa, Mississauga, and Brampton, and maybe more embarrassingly so, to our own county in Barrie. The fact is the number of those cases or examples have only increased since the bill was last on the floor. In every other workplace in Ontario, employees are held to violence and harassment in workplace policies. Currently, there is no legislation that provides an appropriate mechanism for accountability for municipally elected representatives when it comes to perpetuating harassment. In any other job, if egregious acts of harassment are substantiated, the person is fired. In the present, not only can an elected representative perpetuate harassment, no matter how egregious, they can retain their position and seek re-election. This is not acceptable. The bill is simple. It has two primary components: hold municipally elected officials to violence and harassment policies of the municipality they serve, and create a process by which an integrity commissioner can apply to the courts to vacate a position for substantiated acts of egregious harassment. All claims need to be substantiated like in any other workplace HR department, and only in those instances where harassment was deemed egregious would an application to the courts be made for removal. If removed, the person would not be eligible to pursue subsequent re-election or be appointed to the council or local board. This is the same consequence applied to candidates who fail to file a financial statement for their election campaign. It is hard to stand here and try to rationalize how a lack of financial disclosure warrants penalty, while councillors guilty of egregious harassment can pursue re-election, no problem. Something is wrong with this picture. Today, we are here to advocate for your support of your workplace safety. As elected leaders of your community, you are responsible for ensuring basic human rights are respected and protected. This bill is the foundation. We are asking Council to pass a motion to endorse Bill 5 and to write a letter of support circulated to your local MPP, Premier Doug Ford, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Steve Clark, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the MPP, Stephen Blais. I'm happy to report that should Council choose to pass this motion, they will be joining the ranks of 94 other municipalities in this province, hoping you'll be 95 tonight. Every voice matters. We look to you, elected leaders of your communities, to do just that, to lead. Please join these municipalities in standing up for the human rights of every person in this province. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fellows. Questions or comments on the presentation? Councillor Zanella?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. I will, I guess, move receipt, but I want to put forward a motion. So I'm going to pull this and we'll just receive the delegation and we'll guide me.
Thank you. So I think Councillor Zanella is asking that a motion to support Bill 5 be tabled, and it's moved by Councillor Zanella. And is there a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Fowler. Questions or comments on the revised recommendation? I'll just make a couple. So I do sit on the Association of Municipalities of Ontario representing Small Urban Caucus, and we were approached and asked for our advice on this matter before the last provincial election, so some time ago. We did provide, and it very much mirrors what is in MPP Blaise bill, with the only exception being that AMO had also asked for consistent training for all integrity commissioners across the province. That was the only other thing that was added. But absolutely, and I did get an opportunity to speak to MPP Blaise at the OSAM conference. He was there speaking on the bill as well. So happy to support it. You know, I've been around with some, particularly Ottawa was particularly a problem. With members of Ottawa City Council sitting on the board as well, and obviously they were very traumatized by what was going on there, and I know that is one of many. So those are my comments. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? That's carried unanimously.
Thank you so much
for being here this evening. Next is item 6.2, and that is Meredith Goodwin, Capital Projects Manager, Innisfil Beach Park Implementation Plan. So while you're getting set up, good night. While you're getting set up, I'm going to, I'm sorry, Jessica's going to open it. I just have to grab something I left in the back room, and I will be back in 1 minute. Deputy Mayor, could you take over the floor for a second?
Thank you, Your Worship. The floor is yours, Ms. Goodwin.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Fowler. I'm actually going to start and then turn it over to Ms. Jenkins. We felt it was important to provide a few sort of summary comments. Obviously, it was a very comprehensive report, and we appreciate the comments that we heard from members of the public tonight, and we will be speaking to some of those. But we did think it was important, given this is a fairly significant implementation plan coming back, and there's a number of council members that weren't here when the master plan was originally adopted, we did think it was important to highlight a few components of the hybrid concept, and also just to provide a bit of a summary in terms of Innisfil Beach Park and highlight some of the components within the report specifically, recognizing that it's not the only park in the town of Innisfil, obviously, but it is the premier waterfront park, and it is not for Alcona, it is for the entire town's use. And so we did want to highlight that it is for the enjoyment of the entire community. It is the primary settlement area at this time. That title may change in the future with other legislative changes, but it is still the primary settlement area within the town of Innisfil. And so through the report, you'll see that there's a number of recommendations. It is a very long-term strategy. It is a significant dollar amount in terms of the investment in that park for this community. But we do acknowledge through the report there are a number of other park areas that are also receiving funding in both this year and future years in terms of improvements. And so we were trying to balance the needs of Innisfil Beach Park, but also the surrounding area. And I think it's important to understand that the master plan, when it was adopted in June of 2020, was that forward-looking vision, as we heard from Mr. Nichols earlier. But it was always intended that it provided the design direction, and it was looking at that long-term vision, but that there would be this implementation plan and future design details that would look at the specific concepts of the park that Ms. Jenkins is going to go through in terms of the hybrid concept. And so in that master plan, there weren't details provided in terms of the financial commitments, and obviously, you know, things have changed, so that funding and those numbers would be significantly off. But those weren't part of that master plan process. It was always intended that when this implementation plan came forward, that those numbers would be considered as part of that. The other component I would say, specifically on pages 8 and 9 of the staff report, we do talk about the fact that we're looking at not only phase 1 and that being the most immediate needs, and Ms. Jenkins will go through that in detail of why those are the needs that we are recommending. But we do talk about a number of opportunities that we're going to continue to look at in terms of funding opportunities, whether that's development charges, whether that's grants, whether that's sponsorships, and reporting back to council as it relates specifically to Innisfil Beach Park, but also in context of a number of other master plans that are still underway that will obviously also have recommendations that would need to come forward to council for consideration. So we are trying to focus on Innisfil, but also be mindful of all of those other projects that are underway across the town. So I think at this point in time, those are my comments. I would like to go to the next slide and have Ms. Jenkins just go through the hybrid concept in a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Andrea. So as Andrea mentioned, our staff report tonight presents the final hybrid concept that you see on the screen for both council approval and approval to move forward with the detailed design of phase 1. I'm going to take a little bit of time to go over the hybrid concept as well as what is included in phase 1. So the hybrid concept achieves the goals of both the master plan and the implementation plan, which were identified as accommodate a range of active and passive recreational uses currently existing in the park, conserve the park as a natural open space, and enhance existing facilities and propose new complementary uses. As you've heard through significant consultation with the community and community engagement, the hybrid concept achieves these goals and will provide an enhanced amenity for both passive and active enjoyment for the community. There are a number of common themes that were identified from the public feedback received, and those themes were then further refined and incorporated into the conceptual options, in particular merging concept 2, which was the existing enhance, and concept 4, which was the existing transformation, in order to shape the final hybrid concept. Additionally, a number of technical studies were completed to help inform the hybrid concept. This would include a preliminary traffic impact study with respect to the entrance at 25th Side Road as an example. And further studies would be used to and completed to help inform the detailed design phase, including specifics on, like to use the entrance as an example, including configuration and design of that entrance. So key features of the hybrid concept include an enhanced beach area, including a new washroom and playground amenities, a youth space, an event plaza and restaurant, relocated boat launch and dock systems, new park entrances, and improved vehicular and pedestrian travel routes through the park, as well as significant landscaping and tree planting. The plan also includes the required site servicing to accommodate the new and improved amenities. In order to implement the proposed works for the hybrid concept, a phasing plan was completed, which has identified the works to be completed in 3 phases. As you can see on the screen, phase 1 has been highlighted in red, phase 2 highlighted in blue, and phase 3 highlighted in purple. The details of what has been included in each of these phases is further outlined in the staff report. However, we did want to take some time to highlight what is included in phase 1. These works will address some of the existing operational issues and replace existing aging infrastructure, as well as provide some enhancements and new amenities. Highlights of phase 1 works include beach enhancements in a new drop-off area, a new winterized permanent beach washroom facility to replace the existing trailer washroom, a new toddler play area adjacent to the existing playground, replacement of pedestrian bridges and culverts, which are in need of replacement based on their deteriorated state, and also to accommodate widening of vehicles for vehicles and pedestrians, a new park entrance at 25th Side Road across from Lebanon Drive, and landscaping, drainage improvements, and tree planting. With respect to timing of the works, we've recommended that design for phase 1 be completed through 2023-2024 and construction through 2025-2026. Phases 2 and 3 will be programmed into the 10-year capital plan for council's future budget consideration. So that concludes our presentation this evening. I would like to take a quick moment to thank our project team, both our internal staff members and our consulting team members, for all of their hard work and expertise to bring this concept and phasing plan together. We're now happy to answer any questions that you have, along with the members of our design team. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee and Ms. Jenkins, for the presentation. Questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Saunders?
Sorry, thank you, Mayor. I just have one question. With when Diane Sykes was talking about the 25th Side Road and the new entrance, I know they're doing a rehabilitation of the 25th Side Road. Will this coincide and make the 25th Side Road wider and the entrance a little bit more conducive for traffic flowing?
Through your worship to Councillor Saunders, yes, we would coordinate the works together to make sure that the improvements that are being planned along 25th Side Road will also integrate this new intersection as well.
Councillor Ices?
Thank you, Worship. This is a very exciting report. I am very impressed with the hybrid concept. As Mr. Nicol stated earlier, it makes a lot of sense. But there's also quite a cost to this, and you may have mentioned it in your presentation, but just wondering about the motion is to approve phase one to be done in 23-24, and it has a bit of a shortfall on the estimated costs, the 3.9 additional funding. Can you remind me again where that funding would come from if we go ahead with it as the motion is asking?
Ms. Jenkins?
Through your worship to Councillor Ices, so at this time in the existing PKS 374 budget, we do have sufficient funds to move forward with the detailed design of phase one. However, we are planning to look at different options for funding the construction phase. We've outlined a number of projects in the report that we will be considering, and we'll be looking at just, overall DC funding affordability. And we plan to bring that back as part of the 2024 budget reconfirmation later this year. So at this time, we do have the funding available to move forward with the detailed design. It would be the construction phase that we would be looking further at how to fund.
Yes, thank you for that. The budget, the funds needed for this project, will they have any impact on property taxes? Like the budget that we approved, the capital budget, my understanding that a lot of that would come from development charges. Can you explain if there's an impact of any of this to property tax?
Go ahead, Ms. Jenkins.
Sorry about that. Through your worship to Councillor Ices. So this project is DC eligible. There is a percentage of benefit to existing versus benefit to growth. However, we typically use DC funding for the benefit to growth, and then we use ARS funding, which is typically from our casino money to pay for the benefit to existing portion. So this isn't being funded by the capital reserve. I don't know if Audrey wants to speak any further to that. Okay, thanks.
I can't see you, Ms. Webb, so there you are. Did you have anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add. Jessica spoke correctly to that.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Fowler?
Thank you, Worship. I have some comments and some questions. First of all, I'm super excited about the 1,000 trees that we want to plant in the park. I made a comment earlier that this will provide a natural canopy for those families in the summertime when they want to be there. I think it's beautiful. It saves money in the long term, and it provides a variety. Have we looked at what we're doing for colors or species of trees, something along those lines? Because I'm thinking of, I don't know if we've gotten to that point yet, or is that something that will be looked at in the near future?
Ms. Jenkins?
Through your worship to Councillor Fowler, or sorry, Deputy Mayor Fowler, I believe that would be something that we looked at further through the detailed design.
If I may, just put some notes down, just that the idea of walking through maybe apple blossoms or, some Japanese silk lilac trees, something that would provide scent as well as color to the park, that would be something I would find ideal. Question about phase 2, the baseball diamonds. Do we have a location where they're being moved to make space for the amenities?
Ms. Jenkins?
Through your worship to Deputy Mayor Fowler. So currently, we have identified through, the previous master plans that have been completed and, through the Land and Lakes plan that is underway, that there would be a need to relocate these diamonds to an alternate location. I think that there has been some proposed concepts out there for the property at 7th, I'm going to say this wrong, 7th Line and 10th Side Road. However, the Land and Lakes plan has not been finalized yet, so that's still out for review. I'm not sure if Ms. Bowman wants to speak to anything further on that, but yes, we have identified the need to relocate these diamonds to an alternate location.
Thank you. Follow-up?
I got a few more things, so
Thank you.
Phase 3, thank you, Ms. Bowman, Ms. Jenkins, and Ms. Lay for moving the splash pad to 12 years into the future as opposed to the immediate, because I've been having some discussions with local residents and ideas on that. The one thing that I am happy about that really made me smile is the expanded docking system moved to alternate locations along the shoreline. The biggest issue we have with Innisfil is once Innisfil Beach Park gets filled, that's it, right? There's no overflow. There's no opportunity for people to go elsewhere. By the docking system being moved up and down the shoreline, we can create microcosms where new businesses may come in, opportunities for new businesses and monetary means for local residents, something that we can build on so that we're not just known as a place with a park. We can have multiple stop-in locations for anybody who wishes to visit the town. I have one question for Ms. Bowman. The tennis cover, how are we looking at that right now? Because when we had the discussions during the budgetary sessions, you're mentioning the multi-use for it. Now, there was talk that there's potentially trouble finding contracts for this, or is that just precautionary at this moment in time?
Director Bowman?
Through you, Your Worship, to the Deputy Mayor. Certainly that is something that our team had been engaged on in 2022 and before, so we're very pleased to continue those conversations on with private enterprises that may be interested in working with us to create covered tennis court opportunities for town. But of course, as we've stated, that has to be opportune and a good situation for us to be in. So if we cannot find the right partnership, it's not the right time, we'll reevaluate future covering of those courts through this plan.
Okay, on page 8, there's I want to say again, a very big kudos, the master plan review. There's talk of long-term goals, long-term visions. That actually made me smile because it's the idea that we're being fiscally accountable to the residents in any capacity, and this means we get to reevaluate as we move forward, which means if this passes tonight, it's not written in stone, it's an evolving creature as it goes forward. And finally, I want to say thank you for the comments earlier, Ms. Jenkins, regarding the DC charges versus the benefit to existing residents. I was unaware that that was funded through the ARS fund, so that's something now when people come and ask me, I have the actual knowledge to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Zanella?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. A couple of hours ago, we were driving past the Lakeshore Park in North Bay, and so I see a lot of what we have here is what they have, and it was beautiful. So I'm not really, I think it's great, and I'm not really sure why I wouldn't want to go ahead with this. I don't see anything here that stands out as something that's going to be a very contentious issue. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Councillor Zanella. Anyone else have questions or comments? Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was going to pull this item, so I wasn't too sure whether I should save my comments for that or...
You know what, we're into it now, so why don't we just keep...
Keep going then?
Why don't we just keep going? That's a good point, but
Okay.
we're this far into it now, why don't we just keep going?
All right, then. I just didn't know how far I was going to go.
Unless you have an amendment, at which point then I would ask you to refer it.
I was going to have an amendment.
Okay, so why don't we refer and we'll have further discussion when this item comes up.
Okay.
Unless there's other general questions or comments at this point.
I'll just make just general comments. Generally, I like the plan. I like for the beaches specifically. I like the dog park down at the far end. Because that's one complaint we always get, that we can't take our dogs to the park. So I think having an isolated spot where they can actually take them in the water, because that's why they come down to the park, because they want to let their dogs into the park. So one part of the beach, not the entire beach, but one part would make that group of people happy. So I think majority, I like the plan. I think all the activities that are in the park were activities which came from residents who wanted to see activities for the park, and the activities are for the residents. I keep on reading in the comments that it's for people coming to the park in terms of out of Alcona and out of Cookstown, but people from Toronto. That's where they think. That's why we're doing this. We're not doing it for those visitors. We're doing it for our kids, like Rob Nickel had mentioned, is that it's for those activities. It's for those kids. So and all of these came through meetings and consultation we had with the residents. So that's where it comes from. So this isn't something that staff just threw up. They listened to what people said. They put it together. There have been 4 or 5 different concepts that were presented, and you've presented the best ideas that came out of that. So this is what residents have requested. That being said, I still have some issues with it, and I'll discuss those when we pull the item during council. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Because we are going to pull it now, so we'll have further time to rethink that when we get to item C1. I just wanted to point out why I left the council chambers. It was to get my phone. And the reason I wanted to get my phone is I was at an event recently where the Innisfil Historical Society was there, and they had a big banner up about the history of Innisfil Beach Park. And I just wanted to share one little snippet of it. In 1922, Innisfil ratepayers were asked to vote on the purchase of Part Lot 26, Concession 8, for the use as a lakeside park for the residents of Innisfil at a cost of $1,800. The foresight of the councillors and those who voted favorably for the purchase of the property at the 8th line had preserved a portion of this beautiful shore for the people of the township and made possible the development of one of the most beautiful natural parks in Ontario. The land, which had once been a settler's homestead, was half swamp and half bush and had changed hands many times since it was deeded by the Crown. So, and I will say that I'm quite certain in 1922, there was a lot of people opposed to spending $1,800 of taxpayers' money on that land. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. Seeing no other questions or comments, could I have a mover and a seconder, please, to accept the presentation? Deputy Mayor Fowler and Councillor Waters, all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for more hard questions to come. Next is item number 7. That is an opportunity for anyone who sits on a municipal board or county council or a municipal association to make comments on the work that they've been doing. Councillor Zanella?
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. Last week, I think it was May 2nd, the students of Nantyre Shores were down at the beach planting, I think, about 300 trees with the Streams Committee. So I just want to say thank you to them for coming out and helping. And there will be more trees planted elsewhere as time goes on.
Thank you. I know you were out slugging with them too, Councillor Zanella, so thank you for that. Other activities? Deputy Mayor Fowler?
Thank you, Your Worship. County's been very busy this past week. We got something coming up in the next couple of in the next little while here. Paramedic Services Week, May 22nd to 26th. The theme this year is diversity in paramedicine, the patient, the provider, and the profession. It's a matter of education sessions of the public that will occur regarding paramedicine and celebrate the work of our local paramedic services. Now, anybody who's ever seen them in action knows what it takes, and I had a talk with their chief at county telling them I couldn't even get through the documentation that they have to train through. It is truly a calling for those who do it, and I'm ever grateful for them. But we have different events, so we're going to celebrate the work of the local paramedic service on the 22nd, Equity and Diversity and Inclusion. On the 23rd, Diversity in Patients. On the 24th, Diversity in the Provider. On the 25th, Paramedic Research and Diversity in the Profession on the 26th. They also have, the County of Simcoe Paramedic Services has, they've reached out to the school boards, the grade 5s and grade 6s, to put out a contest for Paramedic for a Day, video contest. The idea being that they ask students, what would you do if the first responder was you? As potential responders to an emergency, they will ask students to explain how they respond when they encounter an emergency. From those videos that are submitted, they will declare a winner, and from the team of paramedic staff, they will be presented with a kit bag and a certificate from the County Council and meet with paramedic staff to learn more about the profession. It's exciting when you think about it, when the kids in the future, they have. In regards to, there was some conversation regarding Innisfil Beach Road and the road work. Right now, the work that's supposed to be started in May is being delayed till potentially the beginning of June, but the county is doing everything it can to see about finishing it within this season to fix all the deficiencies and move forward in a timely manner, because they are well aware of what it's doing to Innisfil and the cost it has. As well, yesterday, I was with the other councillors and deputy mayors, or mayors and deputy mayors, out of county to take a tour of the Lake Simcoe Regional Airport in Oromodonte. They have a 10-year plan that they're looking to eventually turn it into another hub for commercial airlines over the 10 years. And it is actually really incredible what they're looking to do. If the financial benefits to the county as a whole is phenomenal, and it would benefit so many towns. It's incredible. So I was really excited to take part in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anyone else have any? Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Mayor. I was at the Nottawasaga Futures AGM last night. It was good to see everybody there and put a face to the name for all the people and see what really good business they help the South Simcoe small businesses and businesses, and the networking and the loans they do and stuff like that, and learn a little bit more about that. And it's a really a great thing to do, and it was great for networking. I'm also on the accessibility board, and I'm not going to steal the board's thunder because I believe they're coming to council next week. But they're really excited about getting back into the schools and teaching the grade 5s. I think we have 3 schools this month and 1 next month and 1 in September. So I'm putting this out there. If any of the councillors want to come and join us, it'd be great to see you there. You just give up the morning and you come and hang out with us, and we get to show the kids what it's like to be totally blind, to be totally deaf, to live in a wheelchair, accessibles, like I do accessibilities like that, and more. So if you want to come and learn more, I can't wait to do it. It'll be a good time. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Saunders. Anyone else? Councillor Constantine.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, Councillor Zanella and Councillor Richards and myself, we went to a conference in North Bay. We went on Monday and we came back late this evening. So in our next meeting, I'll have an update on it because we reached back very late this evening, so we'll talk about it next time.
Thank you. Looking forward to that. Anyone else? I have two quick ones. The Traffic Safety Advisory Committee had its second meeting, and just a great big thank you to the team. There's been so much headway and work done, and looking forward to seeing the results of all of this hard work over many years, which seems to be now coming together. So thank you for that. As I've mentioned a couple of times already, I was at the Ontario Small Urban Municipal Conference on the 26th to the 28th. It was held in Brant, Ontario. I'm thrilled to be serving on that board again until 2026 as a board member. The conference was very much about small urban issues, which we all share. Downtown revitalization, short-term accommodations, and we had a wonderful presentation from staff here at the town who came to talk about our traffic calming measures, automated speed enforcement, and that was really, really well received. So thank you for that. And the other committee that I represent all of you on is the Police Services Board, the South Simcoe Police Services Board. We had a meeting on April the 26th. It was pretty much mostly housekeeping, although there were a few things brought up by the chief about work that he's been doing in the community, making connections to different community members. They had a conversation with a cop at Sandy Cove Acres, which apparently went off very well. Also, our service attended this past Sunday at Queen's Park, where Morgan Russell and Devin Northrup names were added to the Wall of Honor at Queen's Park at the memorial, at the police memorial, which was attended by a number of the family members, along with a large contingent of our first responders. Also, we swore in Deputy Chief Sutton, who was sworn in a small ceremony, which is what she wanted. And also, I wasn't able to attend as I was away at the conference, but there was also a recognition ceremony held for not only the police members who'd reached years of service and done exemplary things, but also members of our community who've stepped up and been very brave and helped our community be safe. So those are my reports to you for this meeting. So now we'll go to the consent list and the adoption. So as we go through these items, if you wish to make any other comments or questions, let us know. If you wish to change the recommendation, please pull it to committee of the whole and we'll have further debate there. A1, special council meeting minutes dated April the 19th. A2, special council meeting minutes dated April the 26th. A3, council meeting minutes dated April the 26th. B, there's no reports from committees. So C1, the Innisfil Beach Park Implementation Plan, that's pulled by Councillor Alex Waters. C2, the Annual Investment Report and Review of Investment Policy Statement. Seeing no comments, I just wanted to thank Director Milanishin for being a member of the One Jib team, and also as Innisfil as a founding member, and the benefits that we've received through that. And just wondered if you had any comments, Mr. Milanishin.
Thank you, Your Worship. Very exciting. We are coming up to our 3-year anniversary of participating in the One Jib prudent investor regime. It's a great opportunity to create a real solid return on our investments that we have and our reserve money that we have that we don't need to use immediately. Our time horizon for most of our investments is 5 to 10 years. So 2022 wasn't the greatest year. That was we were impacted. I think most investors were impacted in 2022. We've seen the rebound, significant rebound found in the last quarter of 2022 and into 2023. The true advantage of the prudent investor regime through OneJib is its incredible diversity that we're able to access beyond the typical legal list that we were restricted to. It's the long-term planning horizon, and we have access to institutional investors that are professional institutional investors that help us and advise us in our investments. So very excited to see OneJib also focuses on environmental, social, and governance policies. They try to adhere to those as well. And as you pointed out, Mayor Dolan, we get a little bit of a discount because we are a founding member, so we have reduced management fees to offset our costs participating in that. So very exciting. 3-year anniversary is coming up. We're having a small celebration on June 1st, and Council is more than welcome to participate in Toronto. So if you are interested, please reach out to me, and I will get you a ticket.
Thank you for that, Director Melanishin. And also, I was remiss, I don't think Deputy Mayor Feller and I did in our report from the county that the County of Simcoe received a notice of motion asking the County of Simcoe to look into being on this OneJib board. So there'll be a report coming to Simcoe County on why they haven't invested in this. Seeing no other comments, we'll go to C3, which is the fire consolidation update. Deputy Mayor Fowler.
Just want to refer it, please. Refer to Committee of the Whole.
Thank you. C4, Innisfil Beach Park 2023 seasonal update. Councillor Richardson.
I just wanted to make a quick comment that I thought it was great about the music in the park. I was just, when looking on the website, I would hope that it be updated that if a certain day of the week, like if Tuesdays was Innisfil Beach Park and Wednesdays was the Cookstown, if that could be updated so people knew which day of the week potentially to go to which park for that music in the park.
Ms. Botham.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Richardson, for the question. Yes, we are working on it. I can happily say we've had probably almost 40 applications come in. So I will be looking at our budgetary restraints, and we will be setting specific nights in each location. So we are running it July and August, so we do have a little bit of time to get those schedules set, but I am currently working on them. Yeah, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Fowler.
One question, well, two comments and one question, if possible. The dogs in the park, a temporary expanding the hours, I think is a very good thing. Thank you for keeping an open mind and giving the people the opportunity to prove that they can keep their animals under control. And I mean by that, the dogs keeping the humans under control. And the fenced-in dog beach, I think, is a phenomenal idea, because the moment I read that they were opening the park, but not the beaches, the first thing that came to mind is someone's going to come to us and say, well, my dog needs to be cooled off. Giving them that space, getting it fenced off, giving it to them in a manner that keeps it secure and safe, I think is very smart. It's forward-thinking, and I appreciate that. I do have one question on page 3 regarding the Pridescape, the Pride Landscape feature. We understand that due to the Pride crosswalk having burnouts on it a couple of times now, we're moving to a flag, and that the pole will be up before the crosswalk is being removed. Now, it states in the report May. There's a lot of days in May, so I'm just wondering, is it a specific day or a general idea? And in that time, are we having a flag raising in June, which is Pride Month, for it?
Mr. Trevison.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Deputy Mayor Fowles. So the intent is that we've done some background work thus far and starting to kind of convert what we're looking to do with the crosswalk over to that landscape feature with the flag. So the background work's kind of already in the works currently. So the intent will be that we'll start construction here in the next week or two to start revising that space. So once fully completed, we will then look to remove that crosswalk, and then further to that, we're looking at about the first week of June to do a flag raising event for Innisfil Pride.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other questions and comments on this? Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thanks. thank you for letting the dogs into the park. My email blows up and unbelievable from numerous residents, and this will make them so happy. Thank you.
Thank you for that. However, I'm going to give you a bit of historical perception here. So we've got this needle that goes this way, and then it goes this way, and then it goes this way. So you're going to be hearing in the next week, next council meeting, about people who want barbecues in the park, but they don't want dogs in the park. So it's trying to find that never-ending, trying to keep everybody happy, finding the balance, as you've heard me say so many times, if everybody's equally unhappy, then we must be doing it right. So yes, we've been here before, and then we've had issues, and so that's why dogs have been not allowed, and then it becomes the issue of having too many dogs, because then visitors who come to the park, they bring their dogs as well, and it's very hard to get that under control if there is an issue, to find that dog again. So lots to think about. I really honestly think it's time that we tried this again, because it's a pilot and the check and adjust model that we've learned since COVID. We've learned so much since COVID, and I think this is the right way to go as well. But I'm just saying, don't think your phones are going to stop ringing, because they're not. Thank you. So a mover and a seconder for the, oh no, sorry, I'm confused. So nobody pulled that one, so we'll move forward. C5, the naming of the developments. Any comments or questions? C6, the administrative monetary penalty review. Councillor Saunders.
Thank you. I just have a question. I see parking in lanes, parking there, parking on boulevards. I don't see parking in handicap zones.
Mr. Harris.
Thank you. Through your worship, the Councillor Saunders. The list in this bylaw isn't the fulsome parking restriction list, so this is just the changes we're looking at, but there is restrictions for accessible parking spaces.
Deputy Mayor Fowler.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm reading the report, and I'm just going to give you the first example that comes to mind is when the fine is set. The current penalty, as opposed to the proposed penalty, is $120 to or $120 to $150 down to $35 to $50. Is that because when it goes through the province, they get a fee or a cut, or is there a charge? Are we coming back with the same monetary gain through this system, even though it's reduced?
Mr. Harris.
Through your worship, to Deputy Mayor Fowler. So this is under the AMPS model, so we're going to see greater cost recovery anyway, so we won't have that cost sharing split with the courts. The main reason for the recommendation of the reduction is just to be in line with other municipalities and similar offenses within the bylaw.
So my understanding then is that it's to keep a balanced field, but at the same time, the question I'm asking is, are we removing the provincial courts and saving the money still that way? Like the money that we're not charging, that would have, in the old system, gone to the provincial courts. So we're not really losing that money. It's just not being given to them as a total. Is that what I'm understanding?
Mr. Harris.
Through your worship. Yes, so through the AMPS model, we will see that increased cost recovery. Just to note, the fines that we are looking to reduce in the report are very low volume. So in either the POA model or the AMPS model, we're not expecting a big change in the revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Moving on to C7, the housekeeping bylaw amendments. Questions or comments? Seeing none. Oh, sorry, Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a comment that Thank you for coming up with the bylaw for electric vehicles, because I kept on wondering why the library was never putting up a sign saying you cannot park here, this is for electric vehicles. And so I finally found out the reason is we need to pass a bylaw. So I'm really happy to see this come through so that we can go through, because numerous occasions I've gone into the library and there's been gas guzzlers parked in where the electric vehicle charger is. So I'm glad to see this. So I just want to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Moving on to D, there are no staff reports for information, and E, bylaws. Bylaw number E1. Seeing none. F, no correspondence. G, we have a few. So the county council meetings, G1. Proclamation for International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia, G2. Councillor Waters.
Just a comment, I just want to say I'm glad to see this, just because this community has been under attack in many places around the world, and I think together as a council in this community, we need to stand up against that and make our voices heard that we are an inclusive society, and so I'm glad to see this. I just want to make that comment.
Thank you. G3, a proclamation about National Accessibility Week. G4, the National Public Works Week proclamation. A big thank you to all of our public, well, I'll save that for the next meeting because that's not till the 21st. And that is all the items on the consent list. So we have two items that have been referred to Committee of the Whole, and we will ask for a consent list continued, our consent list recommendation. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Ices, Councillor Saunders, all those in favor? Carried. Next, we'll resolve to Committee of the Whole, and that would be moved by Councillor Drodge, seconded by Councillor Zanella. All those in favor? That is carried. And we will move to the item C1. And that was moved by Councillor Waters. Seconded by Councillor Richardson. Go ahead, Councillor.
So, as I said earlier, there are lots of things I like about the park. However, I have a few concerns that I did voice to Director Bowman in our one-on-one meetings, and so I wanted to just repeat some of those concerns that I had, and I'm not too sure whether or not that's too late, but my amendment would maybe allow for those changes to happen if people happen to agree with me, but we have 7 people here, so they can always not agree with me, so that's all right. That's what democracy is all about. So anyways, my first concern is that is one of my pet peeves is always putting green space under asphalt, and the first item that comes to mind is almost kind of doubling up the roadway. So now that we have an entrance and an exit, we come all the way into the park, we go down one side of the creek, we go across the creek, and then we come all the way back up, and then we go out of the park on the 25th. And so one of my thoughts I expressed to the director was, is there any chance that we could eliminate one of the roads and taking it over? So as soon as you come into the park is to cross over the creek, join it to the middle one, and do a loop at the end that connects into where the restaurant would be and come back out again. And then that way we save all that asphalt, and that green space it's all isolated in the middle. Nothing's going to move, no wildlife is going to move into there because you have roadways on either side. So, and it's also a dangerous thing in terms of you have 2 roadways to cross now when you want to go through the park. So it would be nice to be able, my thought would be, if there's any way to reduce the amount of driving in the park, is have a double laneway where the second road is, and loop it down and bring it back up. And to go along with that comment is the exit to the 25th side road. Have we done any studies on that yet? In terms of any traffic studies, in terms of which route actually is preferred on the 25th or on Innisfil Beach Road?
Ms. Jenkins or whoever, please feel free to have any of your team come forward to answer the questions that are being asked. You're all here for a reason. We're happy to hear from you.
Through your worship, I'm going to bring Meredith Goodwin up to respond to that one. Through you, your worship, to Councillor Waters. Yes, so there's been traffic studies that have been done. There's all the environment. There's a bunch of engineering studies that we've done through this phase as part of it, and so we have received the draft, and we will be finalizing those. And there are traffic studies that have been looking at that and the counts, etc., and to making those.
So so my question is that if the traffic studies indicate a problem, is there the alternative to move it back to Innisfil Beach Road, or are we looking at traffic in and out of the park on Innisfil Beach Road as opposed to having them in both locations, exit on the 25th and the entrance on Innisfil Beach Road? So is there still that opportunity that if the traffic study comes back and says there's an issue, that would come back to council and or there would be a redirection or rethinking of that idea?
I don't think there's been any significant issues that have come up through in the draft report. No, there's been no significant, anything flagged significantly in regards to that. The one thing I can say is we're looking at through the detailed design is the best flow of how that would go out. So at 25th through the park to 25th, then we'll look at different options. Like maybe the best way is just right in and just right out, so that people that are going north back to Barrie, that they can go out that way versus IBR. So it's the best flow versus pushing people and separating it. So if you're going south, if you're going back to south to Cookstown, you could take IBR, but if you're going north in Innisfil, you could take the 25th. So it's kind of moving the traffic around versus forcing it all on Innis Beach Road as it is right now.
Okay, thank you. My second point is that it seems that the park has been designed in isolation of the community. And my point is this, is that council changed the zoning on the south side of Innisfil Beach Road, hoping to get a community built along there that might be a combination of low condos with commercial all along the front of it. And my vision was to have some unique restaurants as opposed to the typical ones we normally get with street fronts, with cafes and that kind of stuff. And so my question is that having a basketball court right across the road going to be beneficial for those commercial enterprises that might start up? So that's why I question why all this I know I did get an answer for Director Bowman why it was put there in terms of safety and policing, but from a commercial point of view, having all those, if you want to promote that piece as a viable downtown district of commercial cafes and that kind of stuff, having that type of activity across the road. I like the activity, I just don't think it should be there. I think we talked about flipping it to the other side of the road so there was maybe a little more green space in there. So that was one of my comments is that if we want to have a viable commercial space down there, that might not be compatible with that type of stuff. And that same comment can be said for the boat launch as well, is that if there's a cafe at the corner there, or a brew pub or something else that happens to grow to that district. So we don't have anything right now, but it could be the case, but commercial people are going to be looking at this opportunity, is that they're going to see a huge parking lot. So my comment is that I'm not against where the boat launch is, but could we shift it around the corner a little bit to give a little more green space so that those commercial opportunities that might happen aren't looking onto an acre of asphalt, that they could still have some green space and be able to see the lake. So I'm trying to think of compatible uses. And so that's why I make the comment, it looks like it was designed in isolation in terms of what's going to be on that south side. So I just like to make that comment that if there's an opportunity to rethink some of those activities, I'm not saying get rid of them, because I think they're necessary for the park. I'm just thinking, having a little more green space along Innisfil Beach Road so that those activities on the south side have something that's compatible on the north side.
Sorry, through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Waters. It wasn't done in isolation. In fact, we still think that they do complement each other well, that you could have a cafe in that commercial space that would complement it, that those amenities are also beneficial for that space. And then with the new event space down by the water where there was the boat launch, you still have that very close connection with the new restaurant plan there right on the water. So I think there's still, like, we didn't look at it in isolation. We knew that was part of and it was part of the original master plan. So it's changing it up a bit. I like to say we kind of took it in a snow globe and shook it a bit, but that we still looked at it in regards to that. And I think it still complements it nicely. But I guess that's my personal opinion.
Well, as I did talk to, because there has been a group who's been looking at that type of stuff, and they would rather see green space as opposed to a basketball court or asphalt that is associated with the thing. If it would just be a little more green space on that side, I think they would. I think those developments are more compatible. Green space, green trees on that side would be for 20, 30 feet would be kind of nice. So it's just a comment. And if you said you didn't design in isolation, I'll take you at your word for it. So, but these are just my comments. Like I says, everyone can disagree with me if they want. That's all right. I've been wrong before. The last piece has to do, again, with the boat launch. And one of the issues we have with that bay, we lose a beach. And it's absolutely a gorgeous beach, except for all the organic material that washes up into the corner. And I think that's part of the reasons why we put the boat launch there, because we haven't been able to do anything about it, but we really haven't done anything about it. We haven't done proper studies to show where the currents are going. We haven't taken out the small opening that doesn't allow proper flow of water through there to get rid of all that organic matter. So it seems that, and I don't think the solution I see here, I don't think that's gonna happen. So, and I don't see that much work being done on the wharf in terms of opening up the gap between the mainland and the concrete part of the wharf to allow that water flow, those currents, to take away that organic material that keeps on gathering there. So in the 4 or 5 years I've been here, I have not seen or heard anything about doing a study of currents along the lakefront that might resolve that issue. And so it would have been nice to see part of the budget, a study to show how do we improve the flow along there. So even with the boat launch there, we're still not going to get all that material washing up, because that's going to be the worst thing. If it's washing up and you're trying to put your boat in and you've got all this debris around your boat and your motor as you're trying to put in, it's a bit of a problem. So it would be nice to be able to see in the budget at some point in time, looking at that seriously and find out what the issue. I think the issue is that the gap's not big enough, the currents can't wash across the front of the water. So I would like to see something in there about that. And then the piece about if it's possible to maybe rotate, Councillor Drudge and I were talking about this earlier in terms of, the size of and the orientation of the boat launch may be a problem there. So that would be something that, I might be wrong on, but I'm just thinking if we rotate it a little bit, that would give a little more green space, that when you come down Innisfil Beach Road, you're not looking right into a huge parking lot that's filled with asphalt right down to the lake. And so that was my third concern I had. And so, and I guess the last piece I'll answer is that has there been any opportunity for the public to have comment? Like, says there was lots of opportunity for public to have comment on all the various concepts, and that's how we came up with this. So I appreciate that, but has there been any opportunity for the public to have a say on the final design, or has it just come to council for us to pass?
Ms. Goodwin?
Through you, Your Worship, the hybrid concept is just gone to council, so it hasn't. The hybrid concept has not been issued publicly other than through this report.
So I think that's probably where Councillor or Mr. Orsatti's comments come from, is that that maybe we haven't given the public that opportunity to have a say on the final piece. And so So I'm going to stop there. Other people may have some comments, but like I says, generally, I like the layout, I like the activities, I like the beaches. It was just the amount of asphalt that we're creating in the park, the compatibility with potential businesses that might be on the south side, and the boat launch. I'm not against the boat launch being there, but if we just rotate a little bit, there would be my comments. Thank you.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Waters, regarding the boat launch, that is in phase 2 and 3. So more details can be reviewed in that next phase too. So it's not part of that first wet phase. So if council wanted to proceed, that could be held and looked at more detail as we move forward with those phases.
Other comments or questions, members of council? Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Worship. I wanted to maybe build on Councillor Waters' comment about giving the public an opportunity to have their say on this. Is there a anything time sensitive on this item that we would have to pass it tonight?
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Ices. Not necessarily. We are looking forward to starting that design, but if it would like to be deferred to give the public more time to review the hybrid. No, the hybrid did come from public consultation, from all the concepts and public input that we received from all of the previous concepts. So there's not, it's not significantly different from the concepts per se. It's taking the improvements that we heard were needed to make that hybrid, so.
And I would agree with your comments, but I also know in the past when we've had big issues in this, to the town, this park plan is a big item for the town. Giving that opportunity often is helpful for council to get the final wishes on it. So that would be my comment.
Thank you, Councillor Ices. Other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Drodge.
Thank you, Your Worship. So if we did try to defer this evening, I definitely would want a timeline on it before it comes back to council. So next meeting, like 2 weeks, sounds good to me, but I would definitely want that in the deferral, in the writing. Thank you.
Councillor Waters?
I was going to recommend that we could just put a pause on point 2, which is the vision, and allow the other points to go forward in terms of the planning piece, because I think 90% of it's good, and I don't think, and what phase 1 is, I don't see, and I might be wrong in terms of what would be stopped if we held up the vision for 2 weeks.
Ms. Goodwin?
I would suggest waiting and holding on the hybrid and waiting till we move forward with the other with design once it's been approved. Because some pieces, it's almost a bit of a puzzle. So we want to make sure that it's approved as a whole before we move forward.
Thank you. I had a couple of comments I wanted to make. So I've always kind of thought of Innisfil Beach Park as Canada. So if you think of the shoreline of the park, if you think of the south border of Canada, it's very overcrowded. That's where everybody is. And as you move north, as you move into, in this case, as you move west on that park, nobody uses that property. It's very underutilized. We used to use it for overflow parking on the grass. So I love the idea of trying to draw people off the beach and into all of the park. Having said that, I also appreciate the buffer between the houses on Park Road and the park activities. I respectfully disagree. I think activity across from if you're on a roadway and one side of the street has shops and the other side of the street is trees, I think you might be less inclined to walk because there's no activity on the other side, or there's people in that activity dropping their kids off at the basketball who will then stop and have a coffee while their kids are over there doing the youth activity. I think whenever you create that kind of activity, I think it's good for business. But The other thing I wanted to talk about were one other comment, and then I'm going to go into questions. So when it comes to funding, so one of the really interesting presentations at OSAM was from Mayor John Taylor from Newmarket. And while he was talking about downtown revitalization and not developing and implementing a park program, it did include the Riverwalk Commons, which is part of revitalizing downtown Main Street, Newmarket. And one of the things that they've done and they've really leveraged is sponsorships. Now, you know, a lot of people say sponsorships have a bad word to it, but they've got, I think, 3 full-time staff who do nothing but work on sponsorship opportunities for their events. Their entire summer event, music in the park, whatever it may be, is all funded by sponsorships. If you look at that little stage there they have by the Riverwalk Commons, it's sponsored by, I think, a bank or something. So I'm just saying, it's an opportunity for us to use that opportunity to help us pay for some of the improvements. Just something to look at that I'd never thought about before, and I would have never thought about if I wouldn't have listened to Mayor Taylor. So throwing that out there. Then a couple of questions. The pump track and the outdoor exercise equipment that we put in a few years ago, can you just tell me utilization? Is it utilized? Is it in good shape? Is it working as we had anticipated?
So it's been through you, Your Worship. Both of them have been used, been really well used since opening up. And that, as Councillor Nichols said earlier, that he'd love to see that moved to Guildford, and once we get a permanent one in there. So there's that opportunity when we purchased it with the ad hoc committee, that it would be able to be something that could be moved and taken somewhere else. So it's something we own, and once we make something permanent, but it's been really well used, and I think the outdoor fitness equipment as well too, because now it can be programmed, right? So yes.
That's true. I forgot we installed it during COVID. So good. And so yeah, just a couple of other comments. Of course I can't find it now, but when reading the report, it talked about money that was put aside for parking that is now going to be used for something else. What's the plan, I guess, for this summer for parking? Is there going to be any changes, or are we happy with the way it is?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy to take that question. So, yes. Yes, we do have some parking modifications coming. So our existing meters the technology within will expire as we have a mandate to move them all to 5G. So we do have to make some tech upgrades in order to continue to have that service in the park. So we have been moving to get replacement meters move forward. We had hoped for something a bit more digital as far as the solution goes, but our parking requirements are fairly complex, and the market couldn't support what we needed to achieve, particularly because of the configuration we have with the boat launch and the parking fees that are integrated into our machines right now. So that's a fairly unique way of having a parking fee structure. The digital platforms weren't conducive to that at this time. So we are looking to take the first step of putting in parking meters, which we were going to do anyway as part of ensuring we can offer both a digital and a metered solution for those who don't do the phones and the digital. So we are going to leave options open, though, that as the availability of those other digital solutions expands, we can actually integrate the two systems. And so that's what we're going for. From a user's perspective, residents won't see a change this year. They'll continue to have their parking pass. But for visitors, they'll continue to see pedestals, although we're expecting no more coins. It will be cards only.
Thank you for that. I was reading recently that Wasaga Beach Provincial Park, not the municipal part, but the Wasaga Beach Provincial Park, now you can digitally reserve a spot at Wasaga Beach Provincial Park for the day. So I was just interested to read that. That's all I had at this. Oh, one other item, sorry, but I'll bring this up. I'll send it to you, Director Bowman. I've been getting a lot of calls lately about the lighting on the tennis courts, but I'll follow up at another time with that. So let's get back to the big picture here, and I'll get out of the weeds. So we have a recommendation on the floor. Is there any amended recommendation? Councillor Waters?
I would move to defer it for 2 weeks.
And does your seconder concur?
Yeah.
Questions and comments on the deferral? I have a couple. So I'm happy. Oh, you know, I'm always happy to hear from people. But my sense is it's going to be a little bit like the dogs and the barbecues, right? So these people are going to want this, and so it'll be interesting, but great to get more comments come in. And I think one of the big comments that I want us to reiterate to people is that this is for us. These improvements are for Innisfil, and we're making them for our residents, and not just the residents who can walk to the park, but for residents who have to drive from Stroud or from Cookstown to come to the park. It's for everyone. So those are my comments. And with no other comment, I will call the vote. All in favor of the motion to defer? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item C3, Fire Consolidation Update, and Deputy Mayor Fowler.
I'm looking for a seconder for this. All right, Councillor Drudge, thank you. The reports come in now, and I just want to reiterate all the work that's gone into this, and I want to thank Chief Thomas for everything he's done, along with many members of staff. I just want to put it in a bit of a nutshell for anyone who's watching and wants a bit of a history with it. When this first came out, we spent some money on the Ernst Young report, which laid out the cost for us and for Bradford, and what we would gain from it over the next 7 years. Significantly enough, the report was heavily weighted in our favor. We were saving, in essence, of $3.9 million by consolidation. Bradford wasn't happy about that, which is understandable, because if someone came to us and said we had to spend $4 million over the next 7 years, we had to find a way to justify it. So in the spirit of cooperation, over 9 meetings, we went back and forth with the understanding that the reason we're doing this is you can't put a price on a human life. We want to see if we can find the best balance for both towns. So when it came down to it, ultimately, we looked at the numbers, the call volume numbers, the property assessments, and the population, and we worked it to the best of our ability. And I got to give Mr. Malinchin very much a great deal of credit, because we worked them very hard, and we kept on sending them back saying, well, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. Please, can you tweak a little more? Give us another option. Give us another option. And it came to a point where we kind of hit a wall. And what it boiled down to is our savings went from $3.9 million over 7 years down to 2.4 to assist Bradford. And even then, it was just, we couldn't settle on a hard number. It was something, it wasn't, we came to the table as adults, we left as adults, there's no bad blood. But at the same time, it was just, we kind of hit a point where we had to ultimately put Innisfil residents above others. So we ended up walking away from it. We're dissolving the committee. We're going to have a motion to dissolve it with the report tonight. But I just want everyone to know that there was a great deal of thought, a great deal of work, and we did come away with some benefits. And according to Chief Thomas, that they're still going to be working with us, and they are very lucky to still have him as their chief as well for their fire department. So it's not black and white. I just want everyone to understand it wasn't based on dollars. It was based on human life and the cost and how we could help each other in the long run. So hopefully, if things develop better over the next number of years for Bradford, maybe we can come back to the table and reevaluate. But this is, right now, it's dead in the water. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anything you'd like to add, Chief Thomas?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I'll just echo Deputy Fowler's words that I'm very proud of the team and the amount of work that's done. We as a whole collective in the town of Innisfil did the lion's share of the work on this project. So we did the heavy pulling. We do still have many benefits, and some of the work, I'd say about 70% of the work that we did, we will still be able to utilize here in Innisfil, and Bradford will be able to utilize some of that as well as individual departments. So I'm pretty proud of the work that our town and our team has done, and it's not all for naught. Obviously, the news is a little disappointing, but I also understand how and why we've gotten here and support that as well.
Thank you, Chief. Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to thank the chief and his team. They did a great job. I came into that whole process halfway through because Councillor Van Berkel had not run again, so I had to step in for him. And thank you for the team for getting me up to speed very, very quickly, getting me involved with what all the issues were. So I appreciate that and the hard work that all of you did, and hopefully that we'll be able to use that material to make both departments more efficient and safer. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, all in favor of the recommendation? That is carried unanimously. Next, we have the RISE recommendation. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Constantine. All those in favor? That is carried. And adoption from the Committee of the Whole, of the resolutions from Committee of the Whole. Councillor Ices, Councillor Zanella, all those in favor? That is carried. And then we'll go, there's no notices of motion, and we'll go to announcements. Ward 1.
Thank you, Worship. No specific announcement, just asking for patience during this busy planting season for farmers on the roads. We've had a wet start, so there's a bit more urgency maybe than if we had a dry start. So just ask for some patience as equipment moves around the town. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Constantine.
Well, I'm just announcing about the neighborhood meeting in May 30th. So I'm asking all the residents of Ward 2 to come out and to meet us and to share your concern with us also.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson.
All right, I've got a couple, sorry. Just quickly at the Innisfil Idea Lab Library on Thursday mornings from 10 to 11:30. Early on joins them for a free 0 to 6-year-old playgroup. Nantire Band leaves on Tuesday for Nationals to compete. It'll be the first time that Innisfil has ever competed, so that's pretty exciting. Big thank you goes to The Cove from their celebrity server. They raised just over $500, and to Johnny Burger, who also did a fundraiser for them where they raised just over $400. Miss Jenny's has got their PA Day camp and summer camp registration happening right now. The last Tuesday of the month is the Innisfil Business Collective, which will be meeting at the Moon Cafe. On Friday last week, the Innisfil Kids Dance, hosted by Darren Allen, restarted. It's run at Alcona Glen. The next one will be June the 9th. They had hoped for a handful of kids. They ended up with over 300 kids, and they're for 8 to 13-year-olds. So I think that was great that there's another youth initiative happening. And then just lastly is on Saturday is Pitch-In Day, so I hope to see everybody out there. Just a reminder to Ward 3 residents to sign up so that maybe the Ward 3 councillor could win that golden broom. Oh,
I see the new council has already figured out the heavy competition for the for the brim, particularly since I think Councillor Nickel was the champion and he's not here. Councillor for Ward 4, please, Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Worship. I have three things, all things happening at the Lions Hall, a great community area. First of all, I want to congratulate the organizers for their euchre for Sunnybray. Raised over $600 on April 28th, so congratulations to them. I'm sure that money is going to be well used. On May 11th, the first open mic at Lions Hall from 7 to 11 p.m. For those who can sing. I will be watching.
I'll be bartending.
And May 16th is Kids Bingo, hot dogs, chips, drinks at 5 p.m., opens at 5 p.m., and bingo begins at 5:45.
Councillor Zanella, Ward 5.
I just want to also remind the residents of Ward 5 about Pitch-In Day this Saturday, and to make sure that everybody registers. And I hope to see everybody there.
Thank you, Ward 6. Anything, Councillor Saunders?
Thank you. Just to let you know that we had a really good attendance for the Tenoch opening on Cinco de Mayo, and then I had to bump down to Friday Harbor and do Cinco de Mayo there, which was really well attended. That was a good thing. Councillor Richardson and I are heading up a fundraising committee for the library on May 31st. So if anybody has any ideas for fundraising ideas for the library, we'd like to know that. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Drodge.
There's just a few here. So there's a Mom's Day Out Market this Saturday, May 13th at Cooks Bay Marina. That's down in Guildford. That's from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. St. Peter's Church in Churchill is doing a ham and scalloped potato dinner Saturday, May 13th from 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. Tickets are $15 for adults, $5 for kids. And Innisfil Central is having a fundraiser that's going on at the Pita Pit on Monday, May 15th, and on Tuesday, May 16th at Johnny Burger. And the Guildford Local Eatery down in Guildford is opening back up May 18th.
Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will mirror Councillor Saunders with the Tenoch restaurant. I went there and I was there with members of council, and I have to say their torta milanesa is to die for. It is steak that just melts in your mouth. It was really, really delicious. I had to take one home just to be extra sure. We attended the ribbon cutting for the photographer's house down in Cookstown recently. If I understand correctly, Mayor Dolan has known this business for some time when it was a very small business on the second floor, and this the lady who runs it now is actually expanded and taking on a great deal more responsibility, so we wish her nothing but the best. We got to visit Lillian. For those who don't know who Lillian is, she's the grandmother of Pastor Von Hay, and she turned 104 on the weekend, and I hope I look that good at 104. I hope I live to 104. It was incredible, the flowers and the celebration, and just the support from the community coming out to speak to the tour. I attended last night a Lag Bomer celebration with Chabad Innisfil. I was invited down by the rabbi. It's where down in Centennial Park they had Chabad Innisfil, Chabad Berry, and Chabad Bradford. There it was. It's a very, very important day of celebration in the Jewish calendar. So thank you for inviting me. This coming week, Saturday is going to be a very, very busy day because we have Pitch-In, as everyone keeps on reminding everybody. I will not be able to get my name on the broom, so either way, I'm still going to go out, grab your yellow bags, grab your kits. Every little bit helps. You'd be surprised some of the things they find. We found bumpers, couches. We found a fridge thrown in a ditch. I don't know how do you get a fridge in there? It's just, so it's a day that when the town comes together, it is incredible to see the work that's done. As well, on Saturday, we have the Sandy Cove Emergency Prep Day at the Wheel, which is something that is worth attending. It's just an idea how to prepare yourself in the long run, things you might need, simple items you may not think about. It's always good to be educated on these things, and it's free, so you just walk in and grab what you can for information. The South Simcoe Police on Saturday is also having an open house, and they're going to have nitro there, the vehicles, the TAC equipment. They won't let you hold the tasers, though. I've asked a bunch of times. But it is something that is really good to work with the community. You get to meet the officers, and it is just fun. It's a good time to bond with the police services and learn all they do for the community firsthand, and just meet them as people, which is incredible. And one last thing, the Moon Cafe in down off Adullam right now, this Saturday, they're looking at building a community garden, 40 units, 4 by 8 each. They're looking at, for volunteers, anyone who can help fund, just drop off a few dollars if you show up, or even just bring a shovel to build it. Like the idea being, the gentleman who owns it, Adam, keeps saying that, you know, there are people who can't afford to eat. Let's give people an opportunity. Let's just do something for fellow Innisfilians. And I can't help but think this is an incredible idea, and I wish to support it to the best of my abilities. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've covered all of the events that I had on my list. So I just wanted to say that last year, the police open house conflicted with Pitch-In Day. It was at the same time. So this year, they were nice enough to do Bradford in the morning and us in the afternoon, so everyone can attend Pitch-In and then also attend the Police Week. I want to give a big shout out to Kim Creamer, who's 25 plus years organizing Pitch-In Day. So thank you so much from all of us, Kim. And on a larger extension, this week is Municipal Clerks Week. So where would we be without our clerks? We sit up here for a couple of hours, but you guys spend weeks and weeks on these agendas. So thank you very much to our municipal clerks. And also, May 4th was International Firefighters Day, so recognizing the importance our firefighters play in our community. And that is all I have. Mr. Gershow, anything from the town? No? Thank you. So that's the end of the announcements. Reminder, everybody, please send our clerks copies in writing of your announcements so they can make sure they have them accurate in the minutes. Thank you. And a confirming bylaw moved by Councillor Icey, seconded by Councillor Constantine. All those in favor? That's carried. And motion to adjourn at 8:56 p.m. Councillor Drodge and Councillor Richardson. All those in favor? That is carried. Does anybody know the score? 1-0. There we go. All right. With that, I wish everybody a wonderful evening, and we'll see you in